Welcome to the Jets UK podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andres Groves, and joined by my co-hosts, David Wyatt-Hupton and Matthew Merrett. How you doing, guys?
Yeah, good. Good for a Monday morning. It's unusual.
Matt, how you doing?
I'm feeling good. I think the main positive is football is back, so it's just nice to be able to crash out on a Sunday and not leave the sofa for a couple of hours and just take it all in.
Even if it doesn't end the way you want it to, it's nice that it's back, isn't it? Yeah. We're kind of reeling from that loss a little bit. I think the expectations going in were a bit different, especially the reality at half time. I think things improved, but we're recording this first week. Jets lose 19-14 to the Panthers in Charlotte. The stats, obviously it's the Sam Darnold Bowl was kind of what it was kind of billed as, and Sam Darnold 24 for 35, 279 yards, a touchdown to Robbie, of course, and the rushing touchdown. Zack Wilson had a slow start, mostly because the team around him wasn't letting him play properly, but actually finished really strong. Had 20 for 37, 258 yards, 2 TDs, and obviously the interception that was there. So I nailed the prediction on Zack's day. I literally nailed every aspect of that prediction. So I'm really happy about that. David, how are you feeling about the game overall? Kind of 24 hours later, or 12 hours later.
I'm feeling a lot better at full time than I was at half time.
Yeah,
I'll say that. I thought Zack played really well. That's having Zack make these off-platform throws. He moved around the pocket really well. It was quite nice to see. But I mean, that first half was probably one of the worst halves of football I can remember seeing. I mean,
that's saying something for us as well.
Yeah, fair play to Salah for getting his defense out in the second half, because we gave up 3 points in the whole second half. So, I think Matt is going to talk about it a little bit. The cornerbacks really impressive. Really impressive how they came out in the second half and gave us an opportunity to get back in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But the big elephant in the room, 5 elephants in the room, because actually 8 elephants in the room if you include your tight ends and your running backs.
Yeah,
nobody on the Jets can block. Nobody.
We'll go into it now. Basically, we're going to go through, on today's podcast, we're going to go through a bunch of categories. And I think what we're going to kick off with is the biggest letdown of each of us, for each of us. And I'll let you go, David. I know you're raring to go. The offensive line, categorically the biggest letdown going into this game and what it ended up being. So do you want to fire away with all your takes?
Yeah, I'm just going to say it's the offensive line plus, because it was contagious. The tight ends couldn't block. You've got Trevor Wesco in there, who's in there to block. And I've watched it this morning. He's whiffed on 2-3 that he's in there literally just to pick up one man that's coming towards him, and he can't do it. And then you've got Ryan Griffin, who's in there to block, can't block. Tyler Croft, probably more of a receiving tight end, but he can't block. And then you get to the offensive line. I mean, Connor McGovern, what the hell are you doing? That's one of the worst performances I've seen. I've watched it back again this morning, and he really does have one of the worst games I've seen from a centre. I mean, I'll be interested to see what he's graded at PFF, because obviously they go into a lot of detail in these games.
Mm-hmm.
But he missed his assignment so much. A simple stunt, he didn't pick it up. He missed 3 rushes. Multiple times when Wilson's got someone in his face, it's because McGovern is just blocking nobody. He's just standing there. And I shared one on Twitter this morning where we had three players blocking one Carolina Panther defender and 3 Carolina Panther defenders in Zack Wilson's face. Do the maths. That's not what you're paying these guys to do. And some of it is scheme. Some of it, I think, we'll come on to this, but LaFleur didn't really help Wilson. He didn't help his blockers that much in period. But a lot of it is execution. Like, some of those play designs were really nice. Like the 4th and 1 play, that looked like it was quite a nice play design. But when you have 3 players miss blocks, and there were 3 players on that 4th and 1 who missed their assignment, you're not going to convert that. You're just not. So, congratulations to the Panthers, because they did play well, and their defensive line did turn up, and I think that's a testament to them.
Mm-hmm.
We knew it was going to be tough. We knew Burns was going to be tough. We knew Reddit was going to be tough. That wasn't a surprise, but they didn't do anything that special.
No.
You watch the replay, and they crowd the line, and then they drop some people into coverage to confuse the quarterback. Zack wasn't confused. That's the best part about this. Zack wasn't confused.
Yeah.
The offensive line were mystified by it.
Yeah.
They were mystified that they could show 5-man rushing and only rush 3, and they didn't pick it up.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I don't know. It's one of those themes that's been running all summer as the pass protection's been an issue. And then in the preseason it looked better, but that's obviously because it's very simple fronts, isn't it? They're not stunts. There's no kind of trickery going on. And as soon as they face that, it's just an absolute disaster. I just wasn't ready for it to be that bad. I mean, I'm very aware that it's an up and down process this year, but I just wasn't ready for it to be that poor. Like I just wasn't actually. I thought, especially from what we showed in preseason, where we did get some things moving. I thought, okay, it's not going to be as smooth as this, but I didn't think it'd be that big a difference. And it was a shock at half time, the disparity between the expectations and the reality of it. And like I said, thankfully, it kind of improved and they got things worked out, and that's good because last year and in previous years it was basically, if we were down like that, it was just going to be double that up and then finish the game 32-0 or something. So they came out, they tried to come back and into the game. It wasn't quite enough, but they showed good heart. So they got a lot to work. They got a lot of work, the coaches, to get this. I don't know what they need to do. They need to. They've had all summer to work
Teach
on
them
this
how
stuff.
to block.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's just so poor. I just don't know how they make such a big change in terms of like it's just so rotten. Like I just hope that it's basically just them all having an off day at the same time. That's the only thing you can hope for. But I don't know.
It felt slightly contagious, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yesterday, as soon as one man went down, it felt like they all kind of got the issue in terms of their execution. Because I think the scheme did do them a good job, and they looked like they were in the position. As David said, it was the execution just went missing, and Becton just looked a little bit lethargic and slow. Fant wasn't getting his first step off. He just felt a bit lackluster on that first step, so he was getting beaten by the speed. And then in the interior, at least AVT kind of grew as he went through the game, considering he hasn't had any pre-season reps at all. But McGovern and Van Roten were just a bit overwhelmed. Yeah. And I appreciate you're going up against a former top 10 pick in Derek Brown, but at some of the times it was just a bit laughable almost.
Mm.
Yeah, it really. I mean, you just need to look at the stats. I think I read them this morning. Zack Wilson dropped back 43 times. He was sacked 6 times. He was hit 10 times. He was pressured 14 times. I mean, that's how can you expect any quarterback to really perform? I mean, I'm amazed that Zack put up 250 plus yards and a couple of touchdowns.
The fact that he hit the bold prediction that I had was supposed to be a really positive one. He hit it under all those conditions. I think that's just an exciting prospect going forward. But we need to look after him because it's gonna Joe Burrow. We're gonna have a Joe Burrow situation if we don't, and it just. You know what I mean? Like, we have to show him protection. The amount of licks, that lick he took it just before he threw the second touchdown, where it was like a double sack there, and he said it like it was like a truck hit him. He did really well. He popped back up. It's not going to happen every time. He's going to get hurt. We're going to lose him for an extended amount of period if we don't look after him.
I think that was his 10th time getting hit as well. Yeah. So that's just an accumulation of punishment that he took.
Yeah.
And on that play, again, I just watched it just before coming on air. It's a stunt that does it. It's just a basic stunt that AVT kind of picks it up, but McGovern keeps blocking the one player, doesn't switch off onto the person coming around the other side, and he just has a free run at Zack. And fair play to Zack. He tried to stand in there, but he took a shot, and he said, I was winded. I was like, I would have been dead if I'd have taken that shot. So fair play to you. I mean, he tried to not. If you watched his post-game kind of press conference, he was doing his best to not throw anyone under the bus.
Yes.
He was saying, we've got to do a better job. I've got to get it out quicker, and kind of trying to take the blame, which a rookie quarterback should do.
Mm-hmm.
But we can say what he won't say or can't say in that he did an absolute fine job. He didn't need to get it out any quicker. I thought he released the ball quite nicely. You've got to let plays develop. But if there's someone in your face within 2-3 seconds of snapping the ball, you're never going to be able to find that open receiver. So, positives like Matt said, AVT did grow into the game. He was a little bit off at the start, but no preseason, a rookie, you're kind of going to expect that.
Yeah.
So to see him grow was really, really good. I thought when Morgan Moses came in, I thought he did a good job.
I think he needs to start. For me, I mean,
he needs to start.
He needs to start. I mean, he may start anyway now because of Mackay, right? But I think even if Mackay was okay, I think I would be calling for Morgan Moses to start at right tackle. So, and that's going to be the case. And obviously, I think it did improve after Mackay went out. I think it was because of Morgan Moses coming in and Fent just, I don't know. Mackay also looked a bit off it. He had some good reps, but overall wasn't great. So overall, a really, really bad day. We could talk about it for probably 2 hours. Like the amount of we can go by play, And I know there's some other guys, there's other content there. They're probably going to go for hours and hours and hours breaking down this stuff because it's so bad. But we can't stay here forever, so we are going to move on. It's the biggest issue, and we would, like I said, we would probably give it 45 minutes alone if we could. But Matt, what's one of your letdowns, or what's your letdown for the game?
I think my biggest letdown, and I think this is going to be stated by how little I have to say on this, was just Quinnen Williams was just pretty anonymous, considering he was on the field for...
Did he play?
I forgot he was there until I literally didn't even think about him until I saw his jersey number and his name. Like, I saw him standing there in one of the shots. I think when they were had a shot on Darnold, and you saw Williams's, his shirt back to the camera, and it was like in the fourth quarter, and I was like, oh yeah, Quinnen's in. I'm like, completely didn't think about him.
61% of the snaps he took at nose tackle yesterday, and before the game we all spoke about how, given the lack of edge presence, we needed big games from Sheldon, from Quinnen, from that interior defensive rush, and he was just anonymous. And it was so disappointing to see, and I guess we do have to give him some leeway. No preseason action, he's been out, he's been coming back, but I just thought we were all expecting such a big year from him to really make that step and kind of reach that top 3, top 5 kind of D tackles in the league, and we're hoping he can get there, and I think he just needs to really ramp it up for the next week, because what we saw yesterday was just, he looked weak, he looked unexplosive, a bit lethargic, just not able to get off his stance and really get into the backfield and cause any disruption.
It was like last year. Last year was the same. First game he was completely absent, and then from game 2 onwards he was a monster. So I don't know if that's what it is. Like he sees the first game of real game footage in that kind of week after, and kind of goes, oh, all right, I need to make movements and changes, and comes out. That's what we can hope for, because we definitely need him now without Carl and with some of the other deficiencies around. And it's not, we are not able to sustain performance without him here. He is very crucial to us being able to try and win these games when we're trying to close these games out. They were gonna have some other close games probably, and we're gonna need him. So we need him. We need him, basically. David, do you want to anything to say about Quinnen?
I mean, it's hard to, because I didn't hear his name once, and I think the only time I actually thought about Quinnen was when Matt messaged this morning saying his biggest letdown was going to be Quinnen Williams, and I was like, oh yeah, Quinnen was playing that yesterday. I completely forgot, because I don't think during the entire broadcast they actually said his name once. If they did, it must have been in passing, because I haven't looked at his stats, but he didn't seem to be around the ball. He certainly didn't get into the quarterback's face. That, considering who he's going up against as well, if you look at the interior of Carolina's offensive line, which we spoke about, like Pat Elflein looks incredible now. Like, he was awful but yesterday he barely gave up anything. I think he went off, he got a little injury, but he came back on. But Quinnen Williams against Pat Elflein and Matt Paradis, and you should be getting into the backfield. Your name should be called. You should be forcing some holding penalties at the very least. Like, just get a hold or something to show that you have beaten your man, and the only way he could stop you was to hold you. But there was nothing, absolutely nothing. Hopefully, I hope you're right, Andrew, in that he wasn't very good last season in the first game, and then he kind of turned it on. Yeah, he needs to turn it on, because
we need
pass rush in general was lackluster as well. I mean, JFM had the 1 sack. I think that was the extent of our pass rush. I think we had a couple of pressures on Darnold. Yeah. Which, to be fair to him, he did actually deal with quite well.
Well,
which is shocking.
It's a pretty much a cheat code when you can just do the simplest dump off to Christian McCaffrey and he'll run for 12 to 15 yards a pop. So it's like it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, Sam had a good game, but he was definitely helped out by his supporting cast in terms of the offensive line. Did a better job, and obviously the weapons around him helped him quite a lot than anything he got up in New York. So yeah, I mean, my disappointment is Mike LaFleur's play calling, and like I said earlier, it's the first game for the coaches, and you have to understand there's going to be some mistakes there, and they're going to have to learn like some of the rookie players as well. But it's just, you need to, I think, moving forward, you need to really just make it easier for Zack, in terms of, you need to get him maybe out on the run and get him out of that pressure spot. If pressure's getting to him, get him on the run, half the field, things like that. Just simple things that's just going to keep things moving, keep them out of pressure, just give them a bit of respite. Maybe some trip, some screens, some jet sweeps, something just to mix things up a little bit and get the ball into the playmakers' hands a bit quicker. Again, I think they'll see what happened here, and they'll go back, and I'm sure things will improve because I'm pretty confident with the acumen of this staff, offensively and defensively, but in this case offensively. So it's disappointing to see how we I think he had a lot of confidence in terms of what the line was going to do and what Zack could do, but I think you need to make changes, and I think in the second half it did improve. I think those changes were made and things were kind of helped a little bit, but I still saw Zack under pressure and he's still having to evade things and make things by himself. So it didn't 100% improve, but there was a bit of improvement. So hopefully going forward that improves. In terms of surprises, we'll go a bit positive. There was a few kind of bright spots there. Matt, what was your surprise?
I think the biggest surprise was our biggest worry going into the game, and the cornerbacks playing out of their skin to kind of contain those Panthers wide receivers who we spoke about to such extent leading up to the game. I think the fact that Sam Darnold, and we can somewhat expect this, but his favourite passing option was those underneath checkdowns to Christian McCaffrey, which is a testament to how well people like Michael Carter did, Brandon Eccles, Bryce Hall in the secondary. Obviously there was the big touchdown to Robbie, but that looked like he was on red wine more than any of the cornerbacks who were drafted this year. So I was really impressed. I thought, especially in the second half, there was a lot of heart shown. There was a lot of desire. There was a lot of fight, and they kind of didn't look overawed by the occasion. They didn't look outmatched or outplayed. I thought Salah did a lot of good work to help them, and Ulbrich, of course, in that second half in terms of dialing up the pressure in those right moments to kind of force those quicker passes, which meant there were less time chasing their men and just less time to kind of cover them for. But I thought, considering how worried we all were about them, and conversely to how confident we felt in our O-line this year, they were a nice surprise, and I think they did show some real building blocks which we can take into the rest of the season. Of course, they're going to face better quarterbacks who might pick on them more, but I think as a starting point, it's a good start.
Yeah, I agree. It's almost the flip side of the offensive line situation where we had confidence in them, and it was an absolute disaster, and the cornerbacks did a lot better than we hoped, that we were expecting. So no, I completely agree with you that it's never going to be perfect, but the amount of effort they showed and heart, as you said, it really showed up. David, anything on the cornerbacks?
Yeah, I think they did. I think they did a fine job. I think Michael Carter second especially looked really good. Looked physical. Looked fast, which is what we need in that on the back end. I thought Eccles looked good. I mean, Guidry's open field tackle on Christian McCaffrey was outstanding. I mean, there's not many players who go one-on-one with McCaffrey when he's got a little bit of space and bring him down in the open field. So I thought Guidry did a really nice job. But like I said, the best thing about a corner is not to hear their name very often. And you didn't really hear any of their names being picked on. I mean, Bryce Hall made a couple of really nice plays down the sideline. He looks like he's here to play this year because he looks big, he looks physical, and he looked fast as well. So, like Matt said, I mean, they are going to be tested a lot more than Sam Darnold. That game plan for Carolina worked because they won, but that game plan was largely to go underneath to Christian McCaffrey and to Arnold and a few of the other guys. So it's a great first test because we were so worried about them, considering the draft stock that we had in them.
Yeah,
they aren't first and second round picks. I mean, arguably Bryce Hall should have been if he hadn't have had that injury. But the other guys, they're not first round picks, not second round picks. So to come out, that gives me a lot of belief in the system. It gives me a lot of faith in Salah and Ulbrich. And if the offensive line keeps playing like they do, they're going to have to come out and play like that. Yeah, not just for a half, but for a whole game, and give us a chance to win.
And hopefully our defensive line starts to show up and make things easier for them a little bit as well. And then we can actually put together something that's actually pretty decent in terms of playing that kind of helping out their side of an actual potential victory. They have to actually having Quinlan show up, and with them keeping it up, I think we got a bit of success there. Obviously, you imagine the people that we're missing. Obviously, we lost some people as well to injury, so we were kind of down. I think, like you said, Matt, Red Wine potentially was he had to come in and definitely showed why he's why he was let go by Cleveland, I believe it was, and we picked him up. But yeah, he was a bit slow. But hopefully, things will come together a little bit better overall in terms of the three phases of the defense. So, in terms of the third phase of the actual team, special teams, you got a special teams surprise, David?
Well, I mean,
we're all surprised
just
by this one.
That one punt alone by Amendola was ridiculous.
But overall,
good.
His performance overall though was pretty.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have to try a field goal, so what he's actually getting paid for, he didn't have to do. But having that flexibility to come in and look after the punting duties, and not just look after them, but do a pretty decent job. I mean, he didn't when he was kicking it. When he first kicked it, I thought that's going like 20 yards. Like his kicking style on punting looked really strange to me.
Well, it would, wouldn't it?
Then you just saw the returner back up, and you're kind of like, God, the wind must have took that one. But I think it was that 60-yard directional punt that went out at the 15-yard line.
It was 65 yards out, yeah. It was crazy.
I actually said to one of my friends, I'm surprised more NFL teams don't look for people who can kick and punt just to save that roster spot and then have an extra defensive back or whatever on the roster. So maybe Matt Amendola will set that trend, and everyone will be looking for a
That's probably the special
punter.
teams coach, right? That's the special teams coach saying, I need a specialist for both,
Yeah.
Because otherwise you would probably get someone to do the long snapping as well in that sense, But I think, like he's great. Like in the post match, like an interview with Jets, Evan Greenberg, he basically was saying that he's only done one ever punt. He had to fill in for one punt ever, and when he was in high school, so he's never punted other than that. So to come in and just to fill in straight away, and the way that Braden Mann got taken out, where he got taken out, I mean because the bloody holding call got driven into him, like we didn't even get a penalty for it. That was a special bit of salt in the wounds on that one. But
who was that? Was that Tyler Croft on the block? Was that Croft?
I didn't see who got the block, who held on the block. I
think it might have been Croft.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but that was not great. But the fact that Amendola came in and did a good job, that was definitely took that. I didn't really think about it. I kind of forgot about that issue because he handled it so well. So well done on him. I think we'll go to our kind of players of the game. There's not many highlights, but there's a few, and a few guys who definitely mentioned to be deserve to be mentioned. Matt, I think you're going with the obvious one, and I think it's our boy number 2 back there.
I think we have to start with Zack on his first NFL start, considering the circumstances even more, as we've already touched on with the pass protection, not to dwell on a sore point. But I thought Zack, in the face of it, dealt really well. And I wanted to call out a couple of things. And I think the first was just how smooth he looked in the pocket in terms of evading pass rushers, keeping his eyes downfield, the ball nice and safe, so there was no chance of any strip fumbles coming out. And he just looked really smooth in the pocket. I think especially when he got out on the move and was able to evade the rushers that way. We saw it for the first touchdown to Corey, just being able to do exactly what he does best and what we saw at BYU last year. Get out on the move and throw a laser to the open man, keeping his eyes downfield to make sure that he keeps that safe. Because there's plenty of quarterbacks around the league who would get out into that space and just tuck it and secure the first down. But I think that's kind of why the Jets fell in love with him, was that confidence to take those shots. I think the other thing as well was just his quick release was on show quite a lot yesterday. He didn't look overawed by the pressure. He stood in there and he kind of got the ball out. And that's what we all have kind of come to expect from him in terms of that kind of short stop, missile launching, rocket arm attack. So I think as the first start, especially, and this was to some extent the story of the game, first half v second half, but that second half performance, there's a lot of stuff that can be built upon in there.
Yeah.
And hopefully we start seeing a bit more help from his receivers in terms of the drops, a bit more help in terms of the pass protection, hopefully getting certain people who make 40-yard catches in the fourth quarter onto the field a bit earlier. And I think we are in good stead.
I think the Jets fandom are all in on this, on saying what is going on with Denzel Mims and why is he not. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, the talent's on the show. He comes in, he does, for the fact that we were missing Keelan Cole and Jamison Crowder from the game, and Denzel Mims had, what was it, 3 plays was it that he was in for?
Yeah, he had 3 snaps.
3 snaps? Like, it's just outrageous. I don't quite know. There's more to it than just him being, not working hard, which is what we picked up from Corey Davis in training camp, that maybe he needs to work his work ethic. At some point, you just put the guy in who's got the ability, especially when you're struggling on offense. You can chuck a ball up to him and you can get it. He's got that ability to do so. There must be
Yeah.
more to this. There's more to this. It
I
just
think
has to be that way.
The idea for how I would like to see Mims is used, because we do have a weaker tight end room, and yesterday we were without our top slot receiver in Crowder. There is no reason why you can't use Mims in that kind of hybrid role of a big slot, small tight end guy.
He's a good blocker for a wide receiver, right?
Especially considering how good he is at blocking. I just kind of thought he was going to carve out a role from there, so it just was so surprising, so disappointing. The one thing you have to say, though, is all he can do is take his chances when he gets them, and he's absolutely doing that. We saw that catch and run against the Giants in pre-season. We saw the big reception yesterday. When he gets on the field, he is making plays happen.
Yeah.
And as long as he keeps doing that, he has to get more snaps on the field and has to get more opportunities for that first team offense.
I mean, to go to that Denzel Mims play, where's that? And going back to who you're saying is your player of the game, is that throw where he stepped forward, he just flings it forward while kind of running forward. It's a thing of beauty, and he just absolutely just pinged it to Mims. It was a beauty, absolute beauty. David, another guy who Zach connected with was Corey Davis, and he's your, I know we all like Zach, but you're picking, you want to highlight Corey Davis's performance of the game yesterday.
Yeah, I think just to diversify our love fest, because I think we'd all go Zack Wilson if we could. I thought Corey Davis did a fine job. I thought his 5 catches, 97 yards, 2 touchdowns. The way he worked back to the quarterback. He's a QB friendly receiver, and that's how I put Corey Davis. Mm-hmm. Is that he saw that Zach had to vacate the pocket, he had to roll to his right, and if you watch the 22 footage, he comes back round. And he notices that, and he gets himself into a position where he's wide open in the end zone. But that's just because he noticed the situation and worked back to his quarterback.
Yeah,
it's a really nice play by Corey. And then the ball's just a little bit short, but he got down and got it. So happy days there. And then second reception just showed off his big, tough, physical style. And we saw that with the first completion that Zach had, the first big one, the 35-yarder, when he kind of took it in stride and probably went 10, 15 yards further than when he got tackled. The one downside, he did have that drop. It looked like a concentration drop. I watched it again this morning. Nothing really to suggest that he shouldn't have caught that. And you think 9 times out of 10, Corey Davis is going to catch that football. So that didn't help Zach in that situation.
No,
but his other receptions certainly did. And having 97 yards when you're in that kind of situation where Zach hasn't got a massive amount of time to set his feet and look downfield, I think that's a really good performance. I mean, I can't wait for Zach to have time, because I feel like you will find Corey all over the field.
It's very exciting.
He's a very, very good receiver at getting away from coverage. He's quite smart. He's, just the way he runs his routes, good catch radius, big physical. I can't wait to see him. But unfortunately, he only got the 5 catches yesterday. In terms of volume, I think he's going to be a bit higher than that going forward. Yeah. But great performance. It's what a good start. It's a debut. You've scored 2 touchdowns. You can't be displeased because of 1 drop.
No. I think overall it was fantastic. The 2 guys you just mentioned. If the rest of everything else that we mentioned in the show kind of comes into line, it doesn't even have to be 100% solid, all-star level or Pro Bowl level or anything like that. It just give Zach a chance to make things, just give him a bit more of a chance, and he'll make a lot of work. You can see what he did under such pressure. I mean, I saw people saying this was reminiscent in terms of the protection. This was reminiscent to the Ghost game for Zach, and we saw the results there for Sam. And look at what Zach did with a similar situation. He really had a very good stat line and a very good performance in such a bad situation. So it's really, really promising going forward. And I think it's a little bit hidden when you look at the game and you look at the stat line. But when you look at the game in detail, you'll see that. And it's really promising going forward. I'll go with the player of the game for me. And I think there's not really many other guys in the Jets you would mention. Obviously, I think Amendola got his shout out and he did great. I think I just got to mention CMC. I mean, I know it's the Jet stuff, but he was the difference in the game. It was one team had CMC and the other team didn't, because he was just, he had, what was his stats like? He had 21 rushes for 98 and 9 catches for 89. I mean, it was just out. It was everywhere. He just was such an outlet for Sam Darnold just to dump it off and get it done. It was those numbers that Sam Darnold has is just inflated by the work that CMC did on the kind of on the yak, So I just want to give it was an incredible thing to watch. He's such an incredible player to watch, an enjoyable player to watch, especially just not when he's playing your team, but every other week it's just what a delight to watch. What a player. And I just want to mention him because there's not many other Jets that deserve a shout out. So I thought he deserved one for sure. Going forward, guys, like now we're going forward into week 2 against the Pats at home first, home opener. Mac Jones and the Pats coming to town. They're also 0-1 with their loss against the Dolphins. So going forward and for the rest of the season, what kind of things, Matt, are you looking forward to, that you really feel that you need to see and that you're looking forward to see from this team going forward?
Well, I think it's going to be quarterback pressure, and that is offensively and defensively. And I know David feels super passionate about the pass protection, so I'll just focus on the pass rush firstly. And we have to find a way to manufacture this, especially when we're playing better QBs. Unfortunately, we're not going to face many worse interior offensive lines, guards and centres than we did yesterday, and we couldn't get it done against them. So there is going to have to be, whether it's scheme, whether it's execution, whether it's the players performing at a high level, pressure is going to have to be manufactured for this defense with the cornerbacks and the linebackers that we had. And whether that's going to mean that we're going to start seeing perhaps 5 men get sent a bit more, 6 men on some exotic blitz packages. I know that isn't traditionally the Salah way. He's just send 4 and let them pin their ear back and go. But it needs to come from somewhere. And hopefully people like Quinnen, Sheldon, Huff can start getting more involved in that, because if we're not getting that pressure on opposing quarterbacks, it is going to be a long season for those cornerbacks and safeties. So I think that is what we need to see more of moving forward, and how that comes about, I'm sure is going to be one of the priorities for this week ahead of that Patriots game, where we're facing a quarterback who is very good at slicing defenses apart and being quite methodical about it. So we're going to have to try and make him feel slightly uncomfortable.
Yeah, we need to have some pressure. I mean, it's all about the lines, isn't it? I mean, that's where it comes down to with football. It's all about, the line play, and we were just poor on both sides, and that was really the key to the game. And so I guess, David, you're looking for after your rant earlier about the protection, you're looking for protection, the improvement of the technique, and just, organisation, and get themselves in place to give Zack a chance and the running game a chance, right?
Yeah, so I mean, it's the obvious one, but it's so important for any team to have any chance of winning a football game. If your quarterback's getting pressured on over 50% of his dropbacks, it's very rare that you're going to win that football game. So, I'm looking for McGovern to get better. I'm looking for Van Roten to get better. Fant needs to get better. AVT, I'm quite happy with what I saw from AVT yesterday.
Yeah. He's going to. I mean, he's a rookie,
but he's a rookie.
With all the chaos around him, with McGovern and Becton having an off day and everything, it was just like, he looked pretty good. Yeah,
I think that's the issue, is that McGovern is the centre's the glue in the middle, and the issues we had was the communication between largely the interior, and so that largely falls on McGovern. It's you can't let that fall on AVT. He's a rookie; he's still getting used to things. McGovern has to take that. And multiple times they just did not pass rushes off to each other, and that's either side. So that shows that it's McGovern, because it wasn't just on AVT's side; it was on Van Roten's side as well. So that's going to need to drastically improve, get some push. The tight ends are going to have to block better. The running backs are going to have to block better, and they're going to have to run better. I mean, we haven't really spoken about Tevin Coleman, but he did very little. He had some blown assignments in the blocking game. I think he averaged like 1.8 yards a rush. I was surprised that Ty Johnson didn't get more carries. He only got 4 carries yesterday. I'm surprised by that. I thought he was going to lead the backfield in terms of touches. So, he had 1 reception for like 10 yards. So that shows a little bit of versatility. So I want to see Ty Johnson get more involved in it. I want to see Denzel Mims out there, because he is a good blocker, just like you say. It's important to have wide receivers that can block. We saw that on the run that I sent to you guys earlier. Corey Davis sealed it with his block. So that's another kind of bow in Corey Davis's field. But it all comes down to John Benton and the offensive line and what they can do between now and Sunday to improve. They haven't got weeks and weeks of practice to do it. Obviously, we'll have to see what comes back on Becton. Ian Rappaport said it was MCL instead of ACL
and a sprain. So
that's not season ending.
No.
But I imagine he will be out for some period of time. So Fant's probably going to play left tackle. Moses coming at right tackle.
Yeah.
And they looked good in that formation yesterday. So, Fant's not an ideal left tackle, but at least he's a little bit quicker.
I mean, it's pretty good for a backup, right? When you lose your left tackle, to have Fant there is actually a plus, actually. I know it's not great, but if anyone else loses their left tackle, the guys normally behind them are like a massive, massive drop-off, and Fant's at least competent. He has to play better than he did yesterday, but we've seen him play last year. He was okay.
He looked much better left tackle than he did right tackle, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Like right tackle, he was getting beaten left, right and centre, but when he moved to left tackle, he just did enough. I mean, he wasn't perfect, and but he just delayed the pressure long enough to let Zack get the ball off.
I mean, that's the key.
Really,
he's got such a quick release, Zack, that just he reads the field quickly. He can get the ball out quickly. He just needs some time. I don't think he's holding onto the ball along. There's obviously a few chances where it's happening, but really, it's just give him a shot. Give him a shot. And I think Fant and Moses did that much better in the second half once them two were in, and you saw a few things work out. So. No, I think it's overall. I think for me, it's obviously the play caller I mentioned, Mike LaFleur. I'm looking for him. Get the ball into Elijah Moore's hands somehow. Like get even if you need to mix it up, get the ball. And they tried something. I think they tried a jet sweep once with him or something that kind of didn't quite work out. But just manufacture touches to Elijah Moore because he's so dynamic. Get the ball in open space, let him do some things. I know just a couple of times just to kind of throw things out. A bit of. Just changing things up a little bit and getting the ball in a really talented guy's hands. So I think that's one thing you're looking for, and just making things a little bit quicker and easier for Zack to pair up with protection improvement as well. So overall, just things need to tighten up. I think that we'll be okay. I don't think it's a disaster because I think, like I said, I think a lot better, like you said, David, a lot better at the end of the game than at half time. But we need to. This is not exactly the hardest opponent we're going to face, probably in the bottom third of the quality opponents. But maybe we're wrong. Maybe the Panthers are going to be a playoff team and we'll look back at it and say, actually, they were a good team, and that sometimes happens. But, I think we're going to face some really, really good teams coming forward, in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to have to be a lot better. So, yeah, that's basically puts a wrap on week one. Disappointing, but some positives to draw forward, and obviously a massive game against the Patriots next week. So, Matt, is there anything you want to say to the listeners before we head off?
I think it's just that context. A lot of good teams lost yesterday, and a lot of good teams have lost in week one before. It's not the end of the season by any means. The story for Zack Wilson, the Jets offense for this season, is not written. There's still a lot of football to be played, and I would much rather have had that second half, as David started, with feeling better after that second half than we were at halftime. So looking forward to getting into Patriots week. It's going to be a big game, home opener, and hopefully we can kind of take a bit of that momentum from outscoring the Panthers 14-3 in that second half forward.
Absolutely. David, anything you want to say?
Just that, it's not all doom and gloom. I know we started off with a little bit of doom there, but there were lots of positives in that game. I mean, Zack Wilson. A lot of people said if Zack Wilson looks good this season, then they'll feel good at the end of the year, and he certainly looked good in week one. So let's just stay with that. I mean, keep an eye this week on LaMarcus Joyner's injury, because I don't like the idea of Red Wine being back there for a full game.
No, not at all.
So I'm going to focus on Joyner, and hopefully he's back, because obviously Ashton Davis is still down. So we need to get healthy. And we need to get just better on the lines, and then let's see what this team can do, because they had a lot of fight yesterday, and I really loved that. I really loved in the second half that defense came out and they basically shut down Carolina and McCaffrey. Not shut him down because he still got his touches, but he didn't get into the end zone. They didn't score many points, so it was a good performance by the defense. So lots of positives. Don't be too down, but the offensive line has to get better.
Yeah, it has to. Otherwise, Zack's going to be. It's going to be a rough year for Zack. Even if he does show some positives, he's just going to be running around, and it's not what you want to see for your rookie QB. So fingers crossed on Mackay's. That on the final scan, we will get the final kind of outcome of what actually happened to him, and hopefully those initial scans are kind of confirmed and it's not too bad, and we're getting back. I think more importantly, just that he hasn't got like an off season of like rehab. Like even if he's not great for the rest of the season, it's at least that he'll be right for the beginning of next year, which is going to be a really crucial one with Carl coming back and whatnot. So yeah, I think just got to look positive, and we've got a massive game and against I think a team that is beatable. I think they're beatable. I think if we play better, I don't see why. I'm not scared of the Patriots. I think they've got some good players, and we're going to have to be better. But I think if we are, we've got a good shot. So yeah, we look forward to that. So end of the week, we'll be releasing our preview for the Pats game. We'll be speaking to a UK Pats fan. I've got one lined up. I just need to confirm that. But yeah, look out for that. We'll be preparing for that one and looking forward to that and trying to wash the stink off from the Carolina game. And yeah, so hopefully enjoy your week. Let's kind of rebuild ourselves and get ready for week 2. So anyway, guys, see you later in the week.